Hello and welcome to Light Your Life. I'm your host, Tina Marie, and it's so great to be with you again. I have an amazing guest, one that I've followed for many years and has really affected not only my life, definitely my business and my teams. I want you to meet our guest today and take notes. Let me tell you a little bit about Michael Michalowicz. By his 35th birthday, Mike had founded and sold two multi-million-dollar companies. That's not a small feat, by the way. If you're listening, that is a long road to get there. So this earns credibility, by the way. I want you to lean in. Confident that he had had the formula to success, he became a small business angel investor, been there too, and proceeded to lose his entire fortune. Been there too.
Yeah. I thought you might raise your hand.
Been there too. Then he started all over again, driven to find better ways to grow healthy, strong companies. Mike devoted his entire life, to the research and delivery of innovative, impactful entrepreneurial strategies for you. Today, Mike leads two multi-million-dollar ventures as he tests his latest business research. He's always testing. I love that about him. And puts those in his books. We're going to be talking about his book today that you're going to want to rush and get immediately. So if you have not yet heard of Mike Michalowicz, if you have not read any of Mike's books, if you have not met Mike, you're in for a treat. I want you to sit back and truly take notes. Profit First was the first book that I came in contact with, and it changed my entire way of managing cash flow. Then Clockwork came, and it was the entire way of managing my business, my time, my interest, my passion. So Mike, thank you so much for being our guest today and talking about your new book, Get Different, Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. I am so intrigued about our conversation today.
Oh yeah, I hope I share some stuff that were our insights to you. They were insights to me and Tina and Marie. It's just a joy to be with you. So thank you for having me.
You're so sweet. First thing, I want to offer you from my heart and every entrepreneur that you've ever affected and is listening, a thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. The first time I got your book, it was an Audible, and I started listening to it. I cried because I said, you understand, you
yeah.
know. So often we as entrepreneurs cannot go to our spouses. We cannot go
No.
to our teams at all. We can have business partners or mastermind partners, yet it's hard to reveal the vulnerability of the entrepreneurial journey and the fears that lie within that. So thank you so much for giving us one, frameworks. Second, complete, unabashed you in the way that you write and the way you present and you connect. And thank you for being like a bro to the entrepreneurial world. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. And thank you for saying that. It really does touch my soul. It really does. I'm unabashedly myself in my books and just am. And I think for some people it resonates and so important. Other people it doesn't, and I get it. But I appreciate you saying that. It really does touch me.
Thank you. You've made my life so much simpler and
I
helped
love
me
hearing
get
that.
out of my way, which isn't always the easiest thing for an entrepreneur to think we
No.
have the answers. So let's talk today about marketing and your book, your latest book, Get Different, which is so pivotal. I've been following, all your books and how you narrow in and go right into a problem set and an issue. So marketing's changing, and it's been changing rapidly for the entrepreneur and the small business owner. It's not the way that you and I would have marketed our business, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So how do we get customers in the door to pay attention to us now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And 5 years from now, it's going to be totally different. And 5 years from now, and the cycles actually move even faster. What I did was I deconstructed what makes effective marketing and not. And what I found is most education is around marketing plans, which are great and actually critical. But many entrepreneurs skip the critical step, the first step of identifying what works and what doesn't work. So we simply follow best practices. My industry, everyone does Instagram posts, so I need to do that too. And that I think is a mistake. In fact, I would argue best practices is the one thing that you shouldn't try to differentiate yourself on. That's the standard approach. So as I was studying this, I don't know, Tina Marie, if you've experienced this email, but years ago, perhaps you got your first one years ago too. I got the email that started off with, "Hey, friend." I never received one like that before, but I got one that said, "Hey, friend."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I have a friend who calls me a friend. Which friend is this friend? I was like, so jacked. As I read through it, I was like, oh, this is a marketing message. It had my attention. The second email, I saw, "Hey, friend." I was like, is this really a friend or is this a marketing? By the third, I've never read a "Hey, friend" email again. And this points to a mechanism that I've been studying called habituation. So habituation, our mind has our brain has this element called the reticular formation.
Activation system.
Yeah. And part of it's reticular activation system, but there's a thing called the reticular formation. It's a blend of different elements. It's basically a net that sits on the top of our spinal column before it connects to our brain. And its job is to be a figurative, but also a literal net. So when information comes through, its primary function is actually to ignore. So, for example, when you see "Hey friend" for the first time, you've never saw it before, it considers it. But the second it sees it that second and third time, says, "Oh, I know what this is, ignore it." Our brain, that reticular formation, is designed to prevent perpetual stimulation to our mind. It would overstimulate us. Wow. Right now, if we're talking, like, you can just look around your desk or whatever. I have tons of stuff. I have a Rutgers mug. I have a CoverGirl makeup. Don't ask. Okay, don't ask. What do you got?
By the way, I have my coffee mug here.
Oh, there you go. The best one of all, the sales prop.
Yeah.
All these things are vying for our attention. The reticular formation is suppressing that to get to our prefrontal cortex, which is basically conscious thought. And so what I discovered is most marketing is being ignored. I would say 99.9999%, because we've become habituated to it. We've seen it before.
Right.
Essence of getting noticed. The first step is you must be different. So an example is if we were talking in a yard or something, and all of a sudden something squiggles, something unexpected and different presents itself, we will react by jumping back. The prefrontal cortex kicks in and we start evaluating, is this a snake or does someone just turn on the hose? But we evaluate it. So our job in marketing is to do what no one else is doing, be different.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I'm curious, is there a second element in your research that means that we have that differentiation, we have that attention span? How do we also elicit trust and intrigue in that? Trust and intrigue in that, because I could have one of two responses, right? I can go, crap, no.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like it. I judge fast. Most of us judge fast. Or I can go, okay, I'm going to lean in. What is this? Right.
Yeah. Wow. You've done your research, because there's three elements. There is a second element about that attractor factor. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is, and you can do this right now, actually, anyone listening in, try to blink as fast as you can. So like it's just the quickest blink you can do. That blink takes more than 1/10 of a second, which actually is the processing time for considerate thought. So if I put something in front of you, you consider faster if you're going to proceed with something or ignore something. And if you decide to proceed with something, because as your attention is different, you'll have these increments of 1/10 seconds considering, should I continue to proceed? So the different factor, it wins. I call it the milliseconds of marketing. It wins that first millisecond of guaranteed attention. If I can walk into a room, a conference for whatever it may be, and I'm dressed like a clown, and I'm the only person dressed that way, everyone's going to look and say, what is going on? I got you for 1/10 of a second. But then I have to keep you engaged. And it has to be an attractor factor. A clown, for a lot of people, not attractive. Is this a murderer? Like some wacko job? Get out, right? Or maybe this is the entertainment for the day, but it can be considered as a threat.
Right.
The simple essence is we need to speak to the customer. It has to connect with the customer. So catch their attention and do something that's compelling. Speak their language, speak their challenge and problem, but get to it immediately of how you're of a service. They have to continue. They have to basically decide that by continuing to consider your marketing, that this is an opportunity, it's beneficial. The second that wanes, they're gone. So you have these increments of attraction that must continue on before you get to the final step, which is telling them to take action.
Oh, fair enough. In your research, have you discovered that attention span, that need for, the immediate, can this help me condition that we're putting out there into the world, is that shortened? Is that even harder to get?
Yeah, that's great. And my research actually has not shortened, has not changed at all. The volume of stimulus has increased. So the marketing around is actually any stimulus 100 years ago was 1/10 of what it is, and it's amplifying even faster. So we're at an exponential growth rate of stimulus. So we ignore that faster. But when we're engaged with something, our engagement length is the exact same time. There's actually a study came out that says that goldfish have a longer attention span than humans. And that is actually not true. That's a myth that got kind of perpetuated through memes and so forth.
Right.
But think about, like, if you watch the Super Bowl for the ads, the great commercials.
Right, I do. Or for the performance.
They're great. I'll watch them for, 60 seconds or 30 seconds. I'll watch a movie, which could be a glorified advertisement, quite frankly, of something for a couple of hours. So as long as we engage, the engagement factor, there's a few elements, and I talk about it in the book, but one is just raw entertainment. Like, we like to be entertained. Curiosity is another one. Like, if you keep on kind of putting a little more teasers out there, we like that. Secrets, and there's other techniques for keeping people engaged. But at a certain point, we do have to move to what's the final stage is called direct. In fact, this makes up an acronym called DAD, so it's really easy to remember. Okay. Any marketing you look at has to first differentiate, then must attract, and ultimately direct. So DAD is the acronym. In any marketing you look at, your own or your competition's, you can simply say, and it's kind of a cheesy acronym, but does DAD approve? Which is actually nice. Kind of creepy. But anything you look at, does DAD approve? It's easy to remember. And the last stage, direct, is very important. And sadly, many of these Super Bowl ads miss out on this. They differentiate, they stand out because they're funny or weird or unique, or they tug at the heartstrings. They attract because they're telling a story that's compelling, but they don't do the final stage, which is direct. Direct is to give the prospect a very specific and clear action that is safe and reasonable. What I mean by this is, say you're looking to buy a new car, and I put an ad out there trying to sell a new car. It says, give me $100,000 deposit. We'll find the perfect car for you. That's so unreasonable. It's so unsafe. Who am I? No one's ever going to act upon that. The same thing is I can say, hey, I got a great car. You should check out cars. Like, I should check out cars, but like, why not get that person's email or say, listen, come down to the lot. I'll meet you here personally and we can review our inventory. There has to be a specific ask where the prospect says, this is reasonable, means appropriate for what they're considering, and it's safe. I'm not taking on massive risk here. Mm-hmm. The second people feel threatened, risk, too big of an investment, too much effort of time, they'll often drop the consideration and you lose out.
Yeah. And we've, as, growing up in business and understanding how to market, there is a programming, I guess, that, you do need to stay consistent with your brand messaging.
Sure.
And, the way that's going to come across to your audience and your avatar clients. So question, if we're doing the, differentiation of our message and get different with your DAD acronym, I love that. How often do we reapproach this newness? Is it different modalities with different, email or web or
yes?
How do you approach that?
So one thing, and you didn't ask this, but some people may be considering this, does different mean outrageous? And no, those are two different things. I'm not saying be absurd and outrageous. You don't have to wear the clown costume. We just simply need to look at, I call it the medium modalities, probably the better choice of words, but the different mediums that are out there, email, social media, the old school billboard.
Yeah. Brochures.
Yeah. So what we can do is we realize that there's a certain concentration that your competition is marketing to on these different modalities. If everyone's doing email marketing, the fact that you put it out the exact same message, but you put it on a billboard actually is different because you chose a different medium. So you may access that market in a different capacity. If you stay with the same medium, then the method needs to change. I'll give you an example. I get tons of requests from people to be on my podcast. And just like you do, this unsolicited emails. Well, I wanted to get on a few podcasts selfishly to promote different is better. So what I did is I looked at all of the ways people solicit, and it's either, it's a broker or a representative saying, you got to have Tina Marie on your podcast. Here's her amazing credentials, or whatever. You got to have Mike. Here's his amazing credentials. So I said, what I'll do is send a video. So that's kind of unique of me doing the ask, but also I said, and this is just calling my style. I said, I just sent out a request just a few days ago. I said, and wouldn't you know it, that we're reconnecting after celebrating my third birthday together as kids. And I have a picture of my third birthday of all of my friends at the time. I also take that person's face, their current face, and implant it on. So it looks ridiculous.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It looks ridiculous. And I say, and then I ended by saying, and you haven't changed at all. You look the same. So it's an attempted sense of humor, and maybe some people will offend, but it is radically different. I suspect no one's ever received a ask to be on someone's podcast with a childhood picture where they're in it. And as a result, the return rate is upwards of like 80 or 90%, where I think the other approach is like, you're lucky to get 1%. So same medium, different approach, different method.
And different energy. It's
Different
really
energy,
a whole
yeah.
different energy to it. You can't ignore that as easily as you could the mundane that we're typically used to.
Right. And it also has the attractor factor. So all those elements are in there. First, it's different. It's like, oh, someone sent a birthday picture of third grade, curiosity. What is this? Then they see a picture of themselves. The most attractive things in the world to us is our own name, our own interests, our own face. I don't go to my bathroom to look at the mirror of someone else. I look, how do I look, Mike? Magnificent Mike. We are very interested in ourselves. So the attractor factor is not me putting out, I'm an amazing guest, please have me on your show. It's putting out something about them. Then the director was very clear. He said, listen, I'd be honored to be on your show. I would just ask that you respond saying, yes, I'll further consider you, or no, get out of here. And people are honoring that simple request. I'm not saying you have to have me on, just yes, I'll consider you, or no, never show up again. And it's working.
That's perfect. I love that. And so what I'm hearing is that we do develop our consistent brand messaging, who we are and what we do for our clients. It's the different approach to get that message in front of our clients so that they pay attention to it at a different level.
Right. Don't abandon the brand. And that's a dangerous trap, because most marketing isn't a one-time deal. It's not like one person will see you one time ever and say, okay, they're locked my mind. They'll experience you in different flavors. In person, through your website, through a webinar or whatever. If there's no consistency, they won't link that you're the same person or the same brand or the same company. So we have to have brand consistency. And ironically, is once you find you're a little different, having that brand consistency becomes very powerful. There's almost an expectation of how's Mike going to present himself this next go around. I can't wait to see it. It starts actually alluring people too.
That's that curiosity.
Yep.
So what have been some marketing campaigns or companies that have done this that you've witnessed, and how did it affect their outcome?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of examples. Actually, there's an experiment. I don't know if you can see it going on right.
And you have these examples in the book.
Yeah. You can't see it's blocked. I'll tell you about that one. That's just an internal one we're experimenting with literally today. So a fitness company, this was my favorites. I was just walking down our own street here, and there's a lot of these fitness studios. We're in a small colonial type of town, historically. And there's a lot of storefronts. Sadly, COVID shut them down, but these storefronts are being taken over by fitness studios. But what I noticed is every fitness studio had the before and after pictures of their clients. And so that becomes the best practice, which therefore becomes a commoditized marketing approach. And for the consumer, it's like, oh, it's millions of before and afters. Plus, it's about other people. I want to know what you're going to do for me.
Right.
So I went to one studio. I went to actually all of them and said, if you're willing to do something different for your marketing, I promise you'll get more clients. Who'll do this? I was surprised, but not shocked that most actually declined. People are afraid to do different. What if customers don't like different? I know this isn't working well, but at least I know. So here's the different we did for the one that was willing to do it. We went to a funhouse supply company. They exist. And we bought those different mirrors. We only bought two. There's those mirrors that make you look different, like a space alien and so forth. Yeah. So we bought one that makes you look short and squat. We bought another one that makes you look tall and lean. And above the short and squat, we put before, and the other one we put after. And so now people are walking by the studio and they see themselves. And what do? We have to look at ourselves. We love it. And you're seeing a before and after of yourself. And it says, hey, we just transformed you in seconds. Could you imagine what would happen if you come in our place, come in and visit? And they're getting all the traffic. In fact, a news article just broke out about it. That is a way to be different. Here's a technique. Steal from other industries. Like fun houses have figured out how to give some people some fun, but fun houses have never been translated into an application for fitness studios. And now this is the first company doing it. If everyone else starts doing it, it becomes habituated, meaning if it becomes the standard, it'll be exhausted. And that's the challenge with getting different, is that you need to do it repeatedly. Once you find something that works, milk that cow for all she's worth. But realize at a certain point it's going to run dry when the competition catches on and starts replicating you. So constantly experiment.
That reminds me of sign spinners, right? Whenever sign spinners first came out, they were cool. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch and see if this guy can do some really cool tricks. And now I just watch the sign spinner. I don't even read the sign.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the innovator of the sign spinning is a guy named Max Durovic. I know it. I wrote a whole case study about this in Get Different. specifically how he innovated. And here's what he did. He was working at a deli as a teenage kid, sitting out there holding a sign as requested, and he was getting bored. And instead of sitting down, he said, just flip the sign and flipped again. And someone came over and they started watching. And then he's like, oh my gosh, the deli started getting more traffic. That's the wonderful thing. The message didn't change. It was still the deli sandwiches. The delivery of the message changed, and it started drawing in tremendous traffic. That triggered him to start a business, which ultimately has now, I think, thousands of sign spinners. They don't work once you've been saturated with it. But here's the power. In the right context, it works again. Could you imagine the next time you go to a live event or something, and there's a sign spinner in the middle of the conference room? Now they have your attention again because it's a new modality. But if you're driving down the street and there's yet another sign spinner on the street, we're not going to pay attention.
Right. I did see sign spinners where it was a trio of them, and they were tossing the signs to and from each other.
Different again,
more
right?
Like an acrobatic, and it was more interesting. And they all seem to be trying to advertise apartment complexes, at least here in Houston. So,
right, they did different, and so different isn't a massive leap; it's a subtle change. The interesting thing is, what's old becomes new again. That sandwich board, if no one's doing it, if that's become exhausted, throw the sandwich board on, start walking up down the street again, and now you can use old stuff and reinvent it.
I love it. I love it. So I got some questions from people that are our business owners here. And David Peck asks, he loves the Profit First system. He's been using Profit First. And he said, partnering your Profit First modalities and framework there, what would you suggest a budget for a startup or a relatively new business set aside for marketing that doesn't break the bank, especially in this thinking different? And what you and I have been talking about, it may not even be a monetary investment that's different than what they've expected.
Yeah. Ironically, it doesn't need to be monetary. But what I would do, and I talk about this in the book too, is I start off by evaluating the worth of a new client, the lifetime value, they call it, the LTV. Mm-hmm. Right. Listen, if I bring in a client as a reader of my books, I make gross $24 for a sale of a book, but I net $4 on a good day per book. But if I can get people to read 5 books, well, that's $20 I can net. So now I know the lifetime value is $20. Then I ask myself, what is the investment I'm willing to make those $20 over the lifetime of readership, which could be like 5 years on average. So then I say, well, that's worth like a $2 investment, maybe $1 investment. So it gives me some framework. This tree here came out from that exact investment or awareness. I realized the majority of opportunities I have are actually through video and presenting and stuff like that. So if I had something that has all my books displayed, then I can have attention. And then the per customer acquisition may be lower than $2. That tree is custom made, it is a couple $1,000, but now based upon the number of viewers I have, I've dropped below the aggregate cost. But why is it a tree? What I noticed is that most people, you have to have bookshelves behind us. Like that's the normal setup. I said, okay, when it comes to video, most people, the medium that we're delivering is a bookshelf. That's great because it displays books. I got to do something that looks totally different and it gets attention. And that's how I came up with this concept. I would just suggest that he considers the lifetime value of the customer and then say, what's he willing to bet to get him? If he's going to make like $10,000 from landing a customer, isn't that worth a $100 or $200 amazing marketing message targeted to them? If you can increase your odds by 2 or 3 times, it'll probably pay for itself tenfold.
There you go. And Selena was asking, we do all the different hats. We have the spinning plates as business owners, entrepreneurs, and marketing can feel like a drain unless it's just our bailiwick, right? She knows that there's people that do that. And so how do you suggest entrepreneurs stay energized about looking at their marketing plan or their marketing approaches on a frequent basis to stay relevant to their marketplace?
2 things. First of all, realize the responsibility we have. We have to market. And I don't think people understand that necessarily. And here's how you can just justify if you should market or not. If you believe your offering is better than the alternatives that exist there, and you probably do, then you absolutely have a responsibility to market. Because if the customer doesn't discover you and they discover an alternative and they buy that, they're being jeopardized. It's the customer's problem, but it's our fault. We have to, if we have something superior, we have responsibility to care enough to market it, because that means we're caring for our customers. So that's the first element. But the second thing is surround yourself with unlike businesses. What I noticed is the power of conferences, of gatherings of communities of this like people, is you can learn a lot of insider tips. You can improve the essence of your business. But one trap I've seen is, not all of them, but many of them have a kind of a circuitous conversation around marketing. Oh, we all do this. Here's the 3 best practices. And I see now all these people who are directly or indirectly competing doing the same 3 things over and over. I'm like, that's going to trigger more habituation. You're actually causing people to ignore you. So the way out of that is join a little group. You could be on Facebook, it could be in person, however, of unlike businesses, people that don't compete, but they're not in the same industry, and ask how you're marketing. Take ideas from each other and start exchanging them. Take someone's billboard idea and make that your new presentation for your business. You know, I actually took an idea from the cleaning industry. They put a phone number on the back of a cleaning product that says like call 1-800 to get a recorded message of how this product works on the back of one of my books. And I saw an increase in sales because I took that idea I did with the pumpkin plant.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, here's a segment. Thoughts from the hat. You game?
Nice.
You game? Okay.
Thoughts from the fedora.
Thoughts from the fedora. Thoughts from the fedora. So here we go. And you get one chance to put it back if you don't want to answer this one. Only one chance.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, here you go. So the first one is, what's the big why for you? What's the big why for Mike? What drives you?
So easy. It's to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
That was easy. I'm going to give you another one.
That's a layup. Yeah.
And thank you for wanting to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty, because entrepreneurial poverty is real.
It's
right?
real. Oh, it's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a boring one. I'm not even going to ask that. Okay. I don't do boring with Mike Michalowicz. No. Okay. So here you go. When you're 90, what will you celebrate?
I will be, from business, I'll be celebrating that I have 25 books in circulation. Right now I have 7. So I have a way to go. It takes me about 5 years to write a book. I write them simultaneously though. It's not like it takes me every 5 years to release one book. I'm actually working on 3 right now, but
whoa.
Yeah.
What
but
else
the way they roll out. So like Get Different was an effort of 12 years of research, compiling, 2 years of just crazy ass writing. And now I'm working on 2 others. One's in the full writing stage now. So
I love it. Thank you for taking your experience, your triumphs and your everything that you've had in your entrepreneurial history and your life, and then all your research and your dedication to helping entrepreneurs just like yourself to reach their goals and their dreams. We need each other to make this happen, right?
Yeah. Thank you for spreading the word, like doing the stuff you're doing. I think this is a collective effort. We all need to bring our best. And as the tide rises, so do all boats. And that's why I hope I'm helping participate.
And I've also read in your books that there is no competition. The truth is we're all in this together doing what we do best.
Yeah. At the big end of whatever this thing is that we're living life, at the end of this, I don't think it's like, oh, I got one over you. I think there's something bigger going on. I don't know, but I do know this. The more we contribute, the more availability we have to improve. If I kept profit first to myself, that would help my business. But honestly, I would be stuck with just that. I think by releasing these things and putting them out, it inspires me to find and discover more things. I think that's true for all of us.
It is. And so I'm believing everyone can get your book at Amazon.
Yes.
Yes.
Right now.
Right now. Get Different, marketing that can't be ignored. Michael Michalowicz. Where else can they go to learn more about the book and all your programs so that they get as hooked on what you have as I have?
Well, I would invite people to shoot on over to MikeMotorbike.com. No one can spell Mike Michalowicz. So MikeMotorbike.com. Easy because it rhymes. Easy because you can visualize me driving a motorcycle. And it was my nickname in high school, grade school, because everyone liked to rhyme names back then. And there you'll have all my books available. There's free chapter downloads. I have my own podcast too. And I do promise this. If you do visit the website, I think you'll experience the most different website you've ever experienced, not just for authors, but any website. And maybe there's ideas that you can take for your own website.
I love it. Thank you so much for being our guest today on Light Your Life. Always devour your book and wish you the best in all your research.
Enjoy being with you.